So, when you think about security for those gigantic ships carrying goods across the ocean, what really comes to mind? Well, it turns out the reality is way more complex and high tech than you probably imagine. Today, we're going to crack open the modern playbook to see exactly how these lifelines of the global economy are kept safe from a whole new generation of threats. Yeah, for a lot of people, this is the picture of danger at sea, right? A small, fast boat, a couple of guys with guns. It's a scene straight out of a movie. And for a long, long time, this really was the main threat that shipping companies were worried about. But yeah, the game has totally changed. The dangers lurking out there in international waters have evolved in a huge way. And that old picture of piracy, it just doesn't even begin to cover it anymore. Okay, just look at this comparison for a second. On the left, you've got the classic threat, that small boat trying to get alongside a huge ship. But on the right, that's the new reality. It's a loitering munition, basically a one-way attack drone you can operate from miles and miles away. This shows you everything you need to know about the shift from a close-up boarding risk to a remote, high-tech weapon. So what are we actually talking about here? What are these new dangers? Well, it's a whole spectrum of threats that goes way, way beyond that classic image. And honestly, the list, it's pretty sobering. We're talking about drone moats packed with explosives, sophisticated anti-ship missiles, even sea mines. But the threats aren't just physical anymore. They're also virtual. Things like GNSS jamming, which attacks the ship's navigation system. I mean, you're essentially making them blind at sea. And then you throw in disinformation campaigns designed to confuse and panic the crew, and you've got a threat environment that is just incredibly complex. Okay, so how on earth is one ship supposed to defend against all of that? Well, the answer is you don't go it alone. The entire industry got together to create a single global playbook. It's this thing called Best Management Practices, or BMP for short. You can think of it as the ultimate survival guide for modern shipping. It's a playbook that's always being updated, and it gives ships a framework to handle these threats, not by just fighting back, but by being smarter, more prepared, and a much harder target to begin with. And you can really boil this whole strategy down to three simple core ideas. First, you've got to understand what you're up against. Second, you make your ship as tough a target as you possibly can. And third, you empower the single most important asset you have on board, your crew. All right, let's dive into that first step. Know the threat. This is all about intelligence. Because think about it, you can't build a good defense if you don't really understand what you're defending yourself from. You know, the ultimate goal of security isn't just to win a fight, it's to avoid the fight altogether. The best way to win is to never have to fight in the first place. So how do you pull that off? Well, the whole strategy revolves around this really smart but simple idea called the threat triangle. For any attack to happen, the bad guys need three things: capability, they have the weapons; intent, they actually want to attack you; and opportunity, they have a real chance to do it. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. A shipping company can't stop someone from building a missile or deciding they want to use it. But what they can control, almost completely, is the opportunity. By making your ship a difficult, unpredictable, well-prepared target, you take away that one crucial piece of the puzzle, and the whole threat just falls apart. And that brings us right to step 2, fortifying the ship. This is where the theory gets real. It's all about how you physically take away that opportunity and turn a ship from a soft target into a floating fortress. So, layer 1. It's often pretty low-tech, but man, is it effective. Razor wire. The goal is dead simple. Make it as slow, as hard, and as painful as possible for anyone to climb on board. Think about it. Every single second an attacker is tangled up in that wire is another second the crew has to react. Okay, the next layer gets a little more active. Ships use the firefighting gear they already have, powerful hoses and water cannons, to literally create a wall of high-pressure water. This can easily swamp a small boat's engine or just make it impossible to hold on to a boarding ladder. It's a very clear, non-lethal way of saying, stay away. And this is the key, right? It's all about layers. In this shot, you can see the physical barrier of the razor wire, but you also see the human element, that crew member on watch. It's the combination of all these layers that makes for a really strong defense. Which brings us to the final and honestly the most important layer of them all. Because you can have all the cool gadgets in the world, but they're useless without a sharp, well-prepared crew. You know, it all starts with just being vigilant. A good lookout is the best early warning system on the planet. Spotting a potential threat when it's still miles away buys you precious time. Time to sound an alarm, change course, and get the rest of the crew to a safe place. But it's so much more than just giving someone binoculars. Empowering the crew means adding extra lookouts so nobody gets fatigued. It means running drills over and over so that emergency responses become pure muscle memory. And it means everyone knows exactly who to call and when. And this last one is so important: supporting their well-being. Facing these kinds of threats day in and day out takes a huge mental toll, and a supported crew is a resilient crew. So why should any of this matter to you, right? Well, look at this number, 90%. That is roughly the percentage of global trade that travels by sea. That food in your fridge, the phone in your hand, the car you drive, chances are it all spent time on a ship just like these. These vessels aren't just dots on the ocean. They are the arteries of our modern world. And that really leads to the final, most important question of all. If these ships are safer, what does that actually mean for you and me? Well, it means the stuff we all rely on every single day is more likely to be on the shelf and more likely to be affordable. Protecting these ships isn't some abstract policy issue. It's about the stability of our daily lives. So the next time you see one of those giants on the horizon, just remember the complex, layered, and deeply human defense that's working silently to keep all our worlds turning.